Welcome back, Ascenders, to the Ascended Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, mysticrainn. Welcome back. Before I get started, I want to first thank you all for granting me the grace and the space that I needed to ascend, to rest, to gather my thoughts, and to come back with the energy that was needed to continue my spiritual work. It's quite interesting what happened. I had actually recorded about 6 podcast episodes. And at the time of recording, there were no audio issues whatsoever. Playback was fine. Then all of a sudden, when it was time to upload, every audio that I had was completely unusable. And I then went and tried to re-record everything, and the same thing happened. And in that moment, I had to accept that there was information that I was trying to share that was not yet supposed to go out. And so I had to take a step back to figure out what to do about it. And eventually, with guidance, I understood that it just wasn't time for any of that information to get out. And when I tell you, I was running the gamut. We were talking about aliens. We were talking about Mars. I felt like the people had to know. And none of that information could be released because none of that information was usable. And just recently I had to kind of cut the cord on that idea and just delete the files. I've actually had the files stored for quite some time, and I just had to let it go because I was like, there's no way I will actually be able to repair any of this. I had to cut the cords, and I had to accept that whatever was said, it wasn't time for it to go out. And a lot of that information was channeled. And it sucks because when I go into a channel state, I don't remember what I've said. Anyone that's gotten a reading from me, if you tried to say to me, hey, remember that thing you told me 2 months ago? The answer is no. I don't remember the thing I said 2 months ago. I don't even remember the thing I said 5 minutes ago because it's channeled information. And so, unfortunately, I don't even remember what any of it was. All I could tell you was that there was so much that was in there, and I was really bummed that none of it was usable. But that is a large reason for the hiatus. And then also too, on a personal note, I do have a matrix day job. And, it is a political job, which is quite interesting considering the fact of the depths of my spiritual work. And, that job taking place in the United States. The United States has just gone through an election. And anyone that works in that field understands that when you are approaching an election and through the election, oftentimes you are on a 7 days a week schedule and you're very, very tired and overworked, and you oftentimes don't have time to do anything else. And so that was also part of it as well. And so I had to take a minute and step back and just go, you know what, like, right now is not the time. And that's okay, because everything happens in divine timing. And then when it's time for me to continue sharing information, I know that I will get the green light from Spirit. And I've received that green light, and so here we are. So I wanted to talk to you about the age of Aquarius and what that's going to mean for you going forward and what you can actually expect so you can be prepared for the energies. My understanding is that if you've ended up on this podcast, if you have found it amongst many other podcasts, that you are indeed someone that is in the process of ascension, that is in the process of awakening. And if you feel like you have been awakened already, then you are simply in the process of upgrading. And we hear so much about this age of Aquarius, this dawn of the new age, but no one really says, well, what can I do? They're saying it's supposed to be a really big deal, but no one is explaining to me what that means for me. And so I figured it'd be a good time for us to start discussing that. So the age of Aquarius is the energy. It's all about information sharing, innovation. It's very futuristic of an energy, very future thinking, very future minded, right? It's also a very rebellious energy, the age of Aquarius. And so, what this means is that you're going to see a huge battle of the frequencies, right? As the old age of Pisces is leaving and the new age of Aquarius is coming in, and it's bringing in that rebellious energy, you're going to see a battle of frequencies, the battle of the status quo, of what once was, of structures, of ideologies, of educations, of teachings, of expectations on you and the rest of society. All of that's going to be challenged, and challenged quite viciously, by the way, by the age of Aquarius and the energy of the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius isn't coming in nicely to say, hey, let's have a seat at the round table and discuss this, and maybe we can come up with something else. The age of Aquarius is saying, all right, you know what? You've had a long time to fix this, and you've done nothing. So I'm going to come in and I'm now going to take over. And it's going to be quite volatile. People who are having a hard time accepting the shift of energy, you will notice, are going to struggle with the battle of the frequencies. It's going to affect them much harsher than it will affect myself or you. So much of getting through this shift is the simple acceptance that this shift is actually occurring and that it is what it is. If you can accept that and find peace in your heart in that, then that will automatically put you on alignment with the battle of the frequencies and the dawning of the new age of Aquarius. People that are resistant to this transition are really going to suffer because they are trying to maintain a way of life that a lot of people who are refusing to accept the fact that there is indeed a transition will experience greater energetic resistance because their current life is no longer sustainable at the new energy frequency that we are working with. The frequency has elevated and it will increasingly go up over time. And if you're trying to maintain a lifestyle that worked for you at lower frequencies and you're still trying to maintain it today at this new higher frequency, you're going to notice is that it's going to start to fall apart because it's no longer in a state of equilibrium. You know, it's batting out of its league, so to speak. Low systems that did well in low frequencies will not do well in higher frequencies because it does not live there. A higher frequency will have the ability to completely wipe it out. And so people that you notice having really significant issues in life where it just seems like everything is falling apart. And I want to make a point to point out the fact that this is not pandemic related, right? That's a whole nother aspect of this new age and the shift into the new age. But people who outside of the pandemic, you just notice that things just seem to be crumbling, or they're sharing stories with you and just everything just kind of doesn't seem to be going right. Maybe their romantic relationship is falling apart, maybe their marriage is falling apart, maybe the family unit is breaking apart, or the relationship with the children isn't as great as it once were. Their friendships are actually crumbling and that's not as great as it once were. If they were fortunate enough to maintain their job, maybe they're having a hard time keeping it now, and that's outside of the pandemic, right? Just for whatever reason, there's energetic resistance in the job itself. And so these people will start to notice a breaking down of foundation of their lives, and it'll be very hard for them to cope with. There's two reasons for this, right? The breaking down of the foundation, one, is caused because their foundation was built at a denser frequency, at a lower frequency, and now that the frequency has gone up, that foundation can no longer sustain itself, right? But another reason is because the age of Aquarius was actually meant to destroy all of societal foundations anyway in order to build and create new ones. And anyone that is having a hard time accepting the fact that new things need to come in and old things now need to go out are going to have a harder time accepting the fact that their foundation is cracking. Now, everyone's foundation will crack. It doesn't matter if you're someone that's accepted the shift or not, but people that have accepted the shift will welcome the crack, right? They will welcome the fact that they're getting a new foundation. They will step to the side and allow it to be removed in order for a new foundation to be laid. They are okay with this. People that are accepting of the shift probably have already kind of mapped out in their head what they want their new life to be. I would wager a bet that the majority of people can feel that their life is going to be incredibly different and that they're going to experience a massive, massive shift. And I also would suspect that for the year of 2021, a lot of people understand that their life will look very different by the time they get to the end of the year. And a lot of people don't know what this looks like, but they feel the shift occurring within themselves. They feel their heart center expanding and changing. They feel their own personal ideologies changing as well. They feel their belief systems, their faith systems are being challenged, and they're changing that too. And they're also understanding that what they want for them what their lives have shifted. They're understanding that what society told you that you should want for life, what society has convinced you should be doing in life, they're starting to realize that they don't actually resonate with any of this doctrine and that does not serve them and that they don't want it. And so you're going to start seeing people pursuing what it is that they actually want in life. Now, here's the kicker. Most people at the moment may not have the ability to explain to you what it looks like. They just know that somewhere deep in the depths of their heart, they can feel it. They can feel that they want a shift and they want it to be different. And they can feel that their life has already started to shift on its own. They probably couldn't give you an explanation of what it will look like by the time they get to the end of 2021, but they already know that they wanted to change. And so because of this, they're very accepting of new opportunities that are coming in and things in their life that are ending, right? We as a collective have experienced a truly traumatic event, being the pandemic. As a collective, it's a collective experience, right? We are dealing with collective trauma. And not only is it collective trauma, it is trauma that is triggering other individual traumas that lie within us. And these little traumas, not little traumas, but these individual traumas that have been triggered by this collective trauma is now forcing people to do a lot of shadow work, to really get to know who they are, to really identify where all of these triggers have come from. And when you do that work, you start to have a better understanding of who you are, of what your soul is. You get to meet yourself again. And when you are fully in self, you have the ability to decide what it is that you want for self, as opposed to what society has been dealing with for so long, which is society, governments, powers that be, deciding for us what we think we should want. In the age of Aquarius, you'll start to see that people no longer put such a heavy emphasis on traditional education. You will notice people learning, but you will notice people learning about very different things that older generations may call esoteric concepts. And it's not really even that, it's just that now people are going to have what we can call somewhat of a modified opinion, right? When it comes to a lot of things that society once told us we should not actually explore. People's feelings on what jobs are or should look like will change. People's feelings on what a career is will change. People's feelings on things like sharing and community will change. People's feelings when it comes to love and love units will change. When it comes to family and family units will change. How people feel like they should earn a living or take care of themselves will change. You will notice that there will be an entire shift on consciousness, and the consciousness will move towards an idea of collective consciousness and in collective information and collective sharing and collective resources. But the problem is we are going to have to first push out the sludge of the individualistic attitudes that we have acquired from this previous age, this attitude of competitiveness and an eye for an eye. We have to continue to push out that sludge. And so, as we're doing so, we are going to be battling that particular energy. We're all going to sense it. We're going to be dealing with that in our friends. You'll notice you'll have to battle that energy in your friendship groups. You'll notice that you'll have to battle that energy with your loved ones, right? Where you're going to be coming from the elevated consciousness, that of the age of Aquarius and the higher dimension, and they're going to be coming from the lower consciousness, and you're going to notice yourself battling them in everyday life, because you're going to notice that their consciousness, their way of thinking hasn't yet expanded. And I've got a lot of news for you. For a lot of the people that you love, it will not expand. And a channel that I did a while ago, I did ask what was the amount of people that we needed on this earth to actually elevate the consciousness. And I was told that it's really only about 20% of people. So out of the global population of, what is it now, somewhere around 8 billion people, only 20% of that is needed to actually elevate the planet. And this makes sense, because if you take 20% of all of those people and you blend them together, that level of love and higher consciousness and high frequencies blended together has the ability to truly change the world, right? And so it's only going to be that 20% that's really going to be pushing things along and moving things along. And you're going to have people that are not in that 20% that are somewhat in the middle, right? But they're never going to really reach the point where they kind of fully transitioned over to the other side. It could be because they're stuck, it could be because they don't want to, or it could simply be because that wasn't part of their soul's mission in this particular incarnation, right? Some people's soul's mission in this particular incarnation is to be the people that are left in the new age, or the people, or to be the frequency on that side, right? If you don't have someone as a frequency on the other side, then what do you have to elevate, right? So some people's soul's purpose is to stay on that side, and that's okay too. But I ask that when you are out in the world and you are recognizing these people and coming across these people, that you do so without judgment. Just have an understanding that that is what you have met, and keep it moving, because it's not everyone is supposed to do this. Not everyone is supposed to ascend, and mostly because not everybody wanted to. It wasn't part of everyone's soul's purpose when they chose to incarnate during this particular time. But for you, what you should start doing now that you have that information, is start thinking about, okay, well, how do I want to be innovative? If this is the energy that I'm going into, if this is the energy that I'm working with, how do I want to be innovative? How do I want to innovate myself? Do I want to maybe rebrand myself? Do I want to create something? Do I want to create a business? Where are the areas in my life where I need to stand up for myself, right? Because this is also a very rebellious energy as well. So where have I not stood up for myself? What could I say more? Where are things that have been left unsaid? What are some things that I have yet healed from due to something mean someone has done to me, or something mean that somebody has said to me? What are all those things that can now be said? So allow yourself to start getting that off your chest. I also want to let you guys know that there's going to be quite a number of you that's going to feel rebellious in your spirit too, right? You're just going to feel like, you know what? Screw all of this. This is ridiculous. And you may feel the need to actually say something about it, and that's okay too, because this is part of that age. So allow yourself to express that, because collectively we're going to be pushing out sludge. And part of us collectively pushing out sludge is also pushing out sludge in our personal life as well. And this means our own personal attitudes and ways of thinking and approaches to religion, right? Or some type of organized structure, or education, or jobs, or careers, or how we felt that we were supposed to earn money in the past, and different things like that. It's time for you to do the work to push out the sludge for you. And this also means pushing out people in your life as well, because people are some of the densest form of sludge that we can ever come across. And for a lot of people, these are going to be people that we hold near and dear to us, people that matter so much to us, are part of the sludge that needs to be pushed out. And when I say push these people out, I'm not saying, get rid of them forever and never speak again, but you are allowed in this new age to have established set boundaries, and you can put people in a box if they want to tap dance all over it. That's all I'm saying. And so those people that like to tap dance on that final nerve need to be people that get put in that box, right? And that's your sludge, and you're going to put your sludge over there. It's going to be contained. And until they realize that it's now time to behave when it comes to you, they can sit there, have a moment to think about what they've done. This is a wonderful energy to work with, to write, to create the life that you want yourself, right? To form groups around you that you feel like love you, that value you, that appreciate you. This is the time for you to be working on that and to be doing that. And you're going to have a very long time to do it. The age of Aquarius is very, very long, right? We're talking thousands of years and eons and multiple lifetimes. It's very long, but because we're at the very beginning of it, we're at the very dawning of those ages, right? The energy now is so intense. So anything that you want actually will, at the moment, will have the ability to manifest a lot faster. And you're working with a solid 2 to 3 years of hard, fast manifestation energy. But the 20s, the decade of the 20s is going to be quite significant for manifesting the life that you want. It's a very strong decade in terms of manifestation because of how, I want to say, volatile the energies are. Picture light. I don't want to say light and dark because it's not necessarily a good or evil thing, but picture conflicting energies just swirling all around you, and none of them feel like they have anywhere to land yet, right? And they don't have anywhere to land because the current foundation is being broken, and until we get rid of it, right, we can't lay the new one. So there is no foundation for these energies to land. So they're just swirling around trying to find a home, right? Because of this, it's almost like there's, in a weird way, no real rules or laws into how this works. So if there's a certain life that you want for yourself, I say throw it up there in that little energy wish-wash machine that we've got going on there and let something happen. You're going to have an easier time doing it now. I also want to say that because of the pandemic and the fact that so many people have lost their jobs, it has created an environment where people are forced to find that little fire of inspiration that lives in them in order to create something for themselves in order to sustain their living. Because of this, you're having a lot of people being forced on their own to create businesses and alternative streams of income. And this is a collective issue at the moment. But this issue has a very beautiful silver lining in the sense that because it's collective and it's collective energy, it's energy that's being duplicated globally, which means that if you are in a position where you want to start a business, it's time for you to do it now. And you guys are going to hear me say this a lot, probably over the next few years, if I'm honest, because that is the energy that we are currently working with. And for those that feel like, well, I've wanted to do this, but what separates me from other people? Why would people choose my service or my products from other people? There are so many other people that do what it is that I wanted to do. My answer to you is because you are you, right? People want to get it from you. People know that other people provide services or they provide products, but they want it from you. There's very simple examples of this. For anyone that said, oh, I wanted to be a life coach, but there's tons of life coaches these days. Well, not everyone likes those other life coaches. I don't know about you, but there are people whose voice I cannot stand the sound of, and I am sure that I am that person for others, right? Not everyone is going to want to come to me for coaching. They may not like the sound of my voice, but it doesn't mean that somebody else, feels the same way, and it's the same thing for you. You're just going to resonate with a certain group of people. We have to remember that 20% of us are here tasked with this job. That's what, 1 out of 5, right? So there are people that are looking specifically for you. It may feel saturated, but it's not. There's always going to be room, right? It's just what's happening is how our commerce is changing. So instead of people willing to give money over to big box stores, they're going to be seeking out more unique products or services, and that's going to be offered from people like you. So there is room, and it's okay if you want to do something similar to somebody else, because you will have a different audience, because those people will simply be attracted to you and to you personally, and that's important, And so figure out what that is and allow yourself to run with whatever that is, and be creative. Don't feel like you have to start your business or your creative endeavor with some type of structured rules that society says you're supposed to go by, or your great grandmama told you were supposed to do. Because remember, all of those rules and structures are currently being torn apart right now, right, in order for new rules and structures to be implemented. So everything at the moment follows no rules. So if you want to start something, or you want to start a business, there are no rules anymore in terms of how that looks. You do it the way you feel like you need to do it for you. Don't try to copy somebody else's formula, because right now it won't work, because we're not operating in a place of rules energetically. Follow your heart chakra, work with your upper chakras, follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your intuition, and try it and see what happens. Okay. And if it doesn't happen the first time, this is okay too, because again, we are in this energy for a long time. We've got a solid 2-3 years of really intense manifestation energy, but the 20s in general as a decade is going to be that type of decade. Think about the roaring 20s, right? A collapse and then a boom. And this is what we're going to be seeing as we end the end of the decade. So now that you are now privy to that information, use your time wisely, so to speak. Now you have something to do about it. Now you can walk away with positive marching orders to create the life for yourself that it is that you want. So Ascenders, that is going to be your homework. I'm so glad to be back. I'm so glad for those that are listening and granting me the grace and the space to take the time that I needed in order to come back. And as always, I will be back, and this time on time, I promise. And I can't wait to talk to you guys soon.